process, but he is the chairman of the board of our synagogue, who is allowing us to host tonight's event. And he is very involved. He's the president of the Chamber of Commerce in North Miami, and he's very concerned about our community and humanity. Yes. Okay, I'm going to start. We have a number of different people that were involved in our community, but I was told that I'm not supposed to mention anybody in political position. So, sorry guys. Okay, now to be serious. Who am I? Jory. Jory Lang. I'm the rabbi of Beth Moshe. My mother really liked me. I want it to be understood that this conversation tonight, this discourse, is going to be one with respect. When I spoke to Pastor Jack, and we were discussing this, and then with Scott, Father Pat, if anyone, which we can't imagine, would be hostile or rude, we will stop immediately and end this. We're here to learn from each other. We're here to respect each other and to understand that we are all different. Any questions you have should be asked in a respectful manner. And you're allowed to disagree, but it should be done in a respectful way. And we all respect that that's how it will be. And I can assure you that everyone on the dais will be very responsive and honest to your questions. They will not sugarcoat things so that you think they're a nice person or not. They will tell you what they feel from their hearts and their beliefs, and we will learn. So we asked a number of people to put questions together, and what we'll do is this. If we go up and down constantly, it will take a very long time, and I want the people who are here to ask questions. So we'll start with some of the questions to the panel, and then people that are here, if you have questions, you could address them. And if everyone's in agreement, they could address it to whomever they wish. And if any of you are not comfortable answering the questions for whatever reason, you should say, I'm not comfortable answering them. And I don't know what the questions might be, so I'm just saying. First question is, in 20 years, where do you see gay marriage? Will it be accepted nationally? Or will it still be an issue of controversy? Why or why not? And you know what? The microphone's in front of you. I don't know where to start. Do you mind? And here's the question. Is that what that was? Oh, it's got the TV station? No.
I'm Darrell from Cincinnati People in Fort Lauderdale. In 20 years, will same-sex marriage be universally acceptable? I have no way of knowing. When I think of the past, the history of biracial marriages, and when I think of the history of interreligious marriages, I know that change comes slowly, and even once it's largely accepted, there's always pockets of resistance even beyond that. I assume the same will be for same-gender marriages, that more and more will be widely accepted, and even beyond that, there will be pockets of resentment in response to that. I assume it will be the same as in the previous cases.
Device from Equality Florida. So just in the last 6 months alone, the public opinion of marriage equality has skyrocketed. We're seeing more and more people every day come out in support of marriage equality. And I think the event that catapulted public opinion the most was President Obama coming out in favor of marriage equality. And since then, I mean, seriously, 10, 15, 20 percentage points, things are moving much more quickly than I would have seen in the decade that I've been doing this work. And so I sincerely believe that in a period that's much shorter than 20 years, that the state will recognize marriage equality, that they will see gay and lesbian couples as equal under the law. Now, whether that means everyone culturally will agree with it, that remains to be seen. But one of the interesting things that's happening now is actually LGBT people are winning the culture race, let's say. I don't say more, but more and more people, are supporting LGBT equality, but not enough people necessarily vote in favor of LGBT equality or speak out politically in favor of LGBT equality. And so, as we continue to have these conversations at our dinner tables in our living rooms, and as our aunts and uncles and members of our family and more and more members of our community become supportive of LGBT people, we have to remind them also of the others, taking those conversations out of the living room and out of the dining room table and into the real world.
If I might on this, I think in 20 years, this is a no-brainer. In 20 years, gay marriage will be legally protected, socially accepted, and it will be one of those things where people look back and go, really? At one point that wasn't legal? When I was born, blacks and whites couldn't marry. I can't even fathom that. I think people in the younger generations will look back the same way at same-sex marriages.
What we'll do instead of, I think this is fair, instead of going up and down, anyone who wants to answer that question. I don't want anyone to feel obligated to go out next. So if anyone wants to address that, or not. So if anyone wants to address it, and to keep in mind, like Scott did, the issue of controversy. Because the reality is we don't know what it'll be in 20 years. But the issue of controversy. The last part says why or why not. And if anyone's going to comment, that last part, I think needs to be addressed. Why it would be accepted or why it wouldn't be accepted.
Well, I think pretty much me and my wife and some of our congregation members, we hold a pretty traditional and orthodox evangelical view and orthodox Catholic view concerning this issue. And I think, when it comes to America, there could be possibly, when you look historically, you had the First Great Awakening, you had the Second Great Awakening, which you had evangelical churches or Protestant churches spread out throughout our nation, the Methodist movement, Baptist, and you have, these are strong movements that influence society, influence education, government. So there could be possibly, we as evangelicals, a Third Great Awakening from a spiritual perspective, where people, or evangelicals, Catholics, there's a resurgence of faith that could actually delay that process. Because I think when you talk about the legislation, what you're talking about is the consensus of the people and not judicial judges legislating, but the people voting. And you have over 30 states that have bans on same-sex marriage, and that could increase. I think there is a resurgence of people who are pro-homosexual marriage, and I think President Obama has really lit a fire. But again, I don't think that would necessarily translate into legalization of same-sex marriage on a federal legislative level. Now, but eschatologically, from looking at the scriptures, will one day the world accept this as a global phenomenon? When it comes to Christian eschatology, we believe that they will. The world will embrace kind of a pluralistic, relativistic